Michael, Australia.
Yeah, having me, mate. This is, I think, it's the most special to play. Sure that, to be honest, against always in any ice. So it was very special to be a part of that. And then when we come back to Australia and played here, we really wanted to continue our domination and make sure that we kept having success here. But, you know, I played against a wonderful Indian cricket team through my career. So many legends of the game. You think about Tendulkar, Sehwag, Laxman, Dravid, you know, those guys with the bat that I idolised watching and growing up as a kid. I wanted to play like them, and I didn't think I'd ever be lucky enough to play against them. Now you look at this current Indian team, there's still so many wonderful players, led very well by their captain, Virat Kohli. So much talent. I can't wait to see, you know, the Kohli versus Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc contest. And then on the other side of that, I can't wait to see Bumrah versus Warner, Smith, Labuschagne in the test matches, that contest as well.
I'll come to that. I'll come to that in a couple of minutes. But first, about you a little bit more. You know, I was part of that press conference in 2011-12 when you came on and you said 2007-8 animosity won't be there. As captain, there will be intensity, but no animosity. And you completely changed that to a different kind of respect, that yes, there will be respect, but there will be no bad blood. Can you tell me about what you meant and how that has completely redefined this rivalry?
Yeah, look, I was very lucky. I played my first-class game for New South Wales was against a touring Indian team. My first test match was against India. My first test match 100 was against India. My highest test match score was against India. So there's so much connection to myself personally in India. And when I took over the captaincy, I was, you know, I'm a very proud Australian and wanted to continue that legacy of playing tough Australian cricket. But I always thought there was a line that we shouldn't cross, where you have to continue to play hard but play fair and respect your opposition. And I felt, you know, my competition against so many Indian players was always tough on the field. Really hard, really competitive. Both teams wanted to represent their country the right way. But once we stepped off the field, a lot of my good friends are Indian cricketers. And I think that is the important part. You can play hard on the field, but you can still be respectful and you can still be friends off the field. And I think competitions like the IPL deserve a lot of credit for that. I think that's brought a lot of countries closer together. You have the opportunity to play with so many different people from different countries and learn more about their culture and learn more about them as people. And that's what I wanted as Australian captain when I was in charge. I wanted that. I wanted to play hard on the field, but I also wanted the mates off the field.
Coming to this series now, Michael, I mean, I was reading comments where you said that Virat has to make impact in the white ball format, for otherwise, because he's coming back, India might get smoked. That's the comment that's been attributed to you. Can you please explain what you mean and what it also means for Virat Kohli, because he's not playing the full series? Does it mean there will be extra pressure on him to make the white ball series his own? Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, Virat Kohli is the best player in the world. So anytime he's not playing, he's going to be a loss for India. There's no doubt about it. What I've said is I think India need to start really well. They need to have some success in the one-day series and the 2020 series to carry that momentum into the test series, because only having Virat Kohli for the first test makes it extremely hard for India to win that series, in my opinion, particularly in Australian conditions. How do you replace Virat Kohli? It's nearly impossible. Not only his batting, but also his leadership, his aggressive approach, what he brings to that Indian team. The Indian players follow him. He's their true leader. So, and you know what? I would probably be saying the same if MS Dhoni was captain and MS Dhoni only played the first test match and had to return back to India. I'd be saying the same thing, because his impact in and around that group was exactly the same. So if India play well, start the series well, win the one days and the T20s and take confidence into the test matches, then it's a completely different story. But my fear for India is if they don't have a good start, they do drop their confidence, they do find it hard in these conditions, and then you add losing your best player and your captain on top of that, it'll be really hard to catch the Australians.
You said Virat Kohli is the best batsman in the world. Are you also saying that he's the best batsman in the world in test match cricket as well? I mean, keeping Steve Smith in mind, is it all formats? Can you explain how good and why you are saying this for Virat Kohli when you have Steve Smith as the batsman for test match cricket?
Yeah, look, I'm saying Virat is the best player in the world across all three formats. That's his advantage. He can play all three formats. Not too many players can as good as him. You look at Steve Smith's form in the most recent IPL, nowhere near as good as what he would have liked. I think he averaged just over 20 in that tournament. Steve Smith's an unbelievable test batsman, and I have no doubt he'll have a big series. It's hard to, if I was just looking at test batsmen, there's probably a handful. I think Warner comes into calculation, Kane Williamson comes into calculation, obviously Virat Kohli's up there as well. So there's a handful at the top of the tree, but I think there's one that stands out if you look at all three formats, and that's Virat Kohli. The way he plays, the way he takes on the opposition, his fearless approach, he can bat anywhere in the order, he's good against quicks and the spinners, and he's had success in all conditions around the world. Plus the fact there's not many players that know how to turn 50s into 100s like Virat Kohli.
Michael, I need to now pick your brain a little bit as the leader. I mean, you have been one of the best captains of the world, and I have no qualms saying that. Sachin Tendulkar made a comment day before yesterday saying that we generally tell bowlers to bowl off stump or fourth stump to batsmen. But Steve Smith, because he's unconventional, because of his shuffle, I would say the bowlers should bowl to him fifth stump and induce the mistake at the start of an innings. That's the line they should bowl, and it's a mental adjustment. Your thoughts on what should be India's strategy against someone like Steve Smith?
Yeah, I saw Sachin's comments, and I agree with Sachin. The only variation to that is I think every batsman is vulnerable in their first 20 balls, no matter how good you are. If you're Sachin Tendulkar, if you're Sir Donald Bradman, the best chance you have to get those batsmen out, the great batsmen, are the first 20 balls. So I'd be trying to get Steve Smith out, and I'd be bringing in every single option of dismissal, LBW, bowled, caught in slip, caught behind. So I would be attacking the stumps with a good bouncer for his first 20 balls. And then after that, I would go to exactly Sachin's plan. I would bowl at that fifth stump line, be really patient, be really disciplined, and wait for Steve Smith to make that error. Okay.
And because very few international stars have seen Indian cricket as closely as you have, how good is Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami at the moment? Are they really sort of up there with the best in the world like the Australians? Do you think, like in 2018, we can trouble the Australian batting with Warner, Smith and Labuschagne?
Yeah, those two particularly are brilliant, are very good. I love watching Bumrah bowl. He's different, he's just got a different action. He's got his own style. He's quick. And I think Mohammad Shami's class as well. He hits the seam. So he'll utilise the brand new ball in Australia, and he should utilise these conditions, a little bit of extra pace, a little bit of extra bounce than what he normally gets in India. So definitely, I think they can do a lot of damage to the Australian top order. And for India to win games, test matches, one days, win the series, they are going to need those two to be exceptional, to bowl really well. And then most importantly, the fieldsman, the Indian fielding needs to be spot on. If they hang on to every single chance they get, because they will get plenty of edges off those bowlers, they'll go a long way to winning a series.
Okay, and what was also interesting in my conversation with Saurav Ganguly, who was on the same show, he said, look, I have no problems in saying that in bowling we will match Australia. It is about the batting. The batting needs to hold up. The batting needs to put scores on the board. Last time Cheteshwar Pujara stood up 300s. That's what is very, very important. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that is right there. I think the batting in these conditions, once you get to 30 or 40 in Australia, it's as good a place to bat as anywhere in the world. But it's hard to get to 30 or 40. So I think they're going to have to rely heavily on their top four batsmen to set the tone, to get through the tough periods. If Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, Mitchell Starc get a little bit of swing or a little bit of seam, they're going to have to let the ball go well. They're going to have to defend well. Once they get into their groove, then I think you'll see the Indian batters really capitalise, go on and make some big scores. But I think the top four are going to have to lead from the front for India, and they're going to have to find a way to take on this Australian attack.
When Virat leaves, Michael, who would you get in that position? Is it KL Rahul, given the kind of form that he's in? All of us know that he has potential, but we really need him to deliver at the test level consistently. Who is the one who can replace Virat Kohli? I mean, if there is anybody who can replace Virat Kohli after he leaves.
Well, this is the thing. If I was picking the Indian team before they come to Australia, as soon as I found out Virat Kohli was going to go home, I would have picked Rohit Sharma 100%, because I think he needs to captain India if Virat Kohli's not there. I think his captaincy, his leadership's outstanding. Once again, he shows that through the IPL. Another IPL win. I think he knows how to lead men, and I think he should be captain of India in any format if Virat Kohli is not there. So that being the case, I would have tried to do everything in my power to get Rohit fit to bat at number 6, probably for India, in preparation for once Virat goes, he takes over the leadership. But there's probably two sides to Virat. There's the captaincy side, and then who's going to bat in that number 4, that vital number 4 position. KL Rahul is very talented. There's no doubt about it. And I think, he has experienced playing in these conditions before, so he can do it, definitely. Virat Kohli's boots can never be filled by anybody, but I think there's two sides there. Who's the right guy to take over the captaincy, and then who's the right guy to bat at number 4 in that position?
Michael, you have always told me that, somebody going away is also an opportunity for another person to put his hand up. In your case, you've given examples to me how you made the most of opportunities. This is also an opportunity for somebody like an Ajinkya Rahane to show leadership skills. Forever, if India can do well without Virat Kohli, without Rohit Sharma in that test series, and that will be sort of history made, Ajinkya Rahane and the rest of the boys. So how mentally, if you were part of this coaching setup, what would be your sort of tip or mantra to the Indian boys after Virat leaves?
Yeah, and I love Jinx too. I think he's a great young player. His captaincy's pretty good. Tactically, I think Ajinkya Rahane is a very good captain. So that will help India as well. I just think it's going to be tough. But I think, Boria, you just said it. You've got to see it as an opportunity. You've got to look forward to this challenge. You've got to try and create history. If India can beat Australia at full strength in Australia's own backyard without Virat Kohli, you can celebrate for a year. It would be an unbelievable win. And I think that's the way the Indian players have to look at it. They have to believe they are good enough to take on this Australian team. They have to believe they're good enough to beat this Australian team. And they're going to walk out in the one-day series and then the 2020s and play with that confidence leading into the test series.
Mate, the other thing that I'm really looking forward to, and this is personal, is to see people back. From March 14th, 15th onwards, we have not seen crowds in the stadiums for the first time, whatever number of crowds. I mean, I was reading all the white ball games are sold out. There will at least be 20-25,000 people, which is huge. And that will sort of give us a sense of normalcy back, that our lives, which were taken away from us by COVID, will perhaps come back in the near future. How will you look at it when you see crowds, your fans, your people walking into the stadium to watch this contest? What will that mean to Michael Clarke, the cricketer, the captain, the legend, who has been elevated to this position by your fans when you see them back?
Yeah, Boria, it's been tough for everyone all around the world, and we're no different here in Australia. People have been in isolation, people in Melbourne and South Australia have just come out. So it's been really difficult, and I think everybody's struggled, but we've been lucky in Australia that our winter sport has found a way to continue. Thankfully, in certain states, we've been able to have some crowds, and for this Australian cricket summer, at this stage, we're allowed to have crowds, which, like you say, is very exciting. I'm not surprised that it's sold out. I'm not surprised that people will turn up. I think you're going to see so many people watch on television or go to the ground, and I think it's what we need. I think sport is in our blood. certainly as an Australian and as an Indian, I think we cherish the days our cricket teams walking out onto the field and playing. And for me, I'll be like every other cricket fan around the world. I'll be glued to the television, watching every ball, and excited that sport is back on our TV and people can actually go and watch it live, because it makes such a significant difference. I think about young boys and young girls all around the world where their school sport and their club sport was called off. They weren't allowed to leave their house. Can you imagine being a young boy? I can't sit still now, let alone when I was 10 or 12 years of age. I would have been absolutely devastated if I missed cricket on the weekend. And unfortunately, the coronavirus has done that. But I think the world is slowly getting back to where we need to be. And thankfully here in Australia, we're able to have crowds. So I'm hoping you see a lot of young boys and young girls having the chance to go and watch their role models and their idols play.
That's so good to hear, because with vaccine news, of hopefully 2021 will be so much better. Now, Michael, if I know how much KL Rahul or an Ajinkya Rahane or some of these boys respect you, if there's a phone call for a request, even privately, by any of these boys to you for help or some ideas or some tips how to bat in Australian conditions, will you sort of step up and help them if the Indian boys request that?
Here's my phone, buddy. They can call me anytime. Like I said, I've got so many wonderful friends in this current Indian team. I know the guys so well. I speak to them through IPL and played against a lot of them. So, mate, of course, my advice, my help, my guidance is for any cricketer. Obviously I'm Australian. I want to see Australia do well, but I want to see great cricket. And if I can help teach, educate, help young players learn, I don't care what country they play for. I'm here to support the game. The game is the most important thing.
I know my time is almost up. Last few questions, Michael. The series build-up has been about Virat Kohli, about Steve Smith, about David Warner. Marnus Labuschagne is perhaps the most important difference between 2018 and now. Your thoughts on Marnus? Because Marnus made his, that series was his debut, and I remember his parents were watching with me, and he came to the press conference and he said he wanted to bat like Pujara and bat long, and look where he's come from then to now. Your thoughts on Marnus?
Yeah, that's his strength. He knows how to bat for long periods of time. Very patient. I think you're probably going to see more of Marnus in the test matches than... I don't know if Australia will pick him in the one days. We'll wait and see, but I think him and Steve Smith play a pretty similar role in the one-day team, so they might only be able to pick one of them, but I know he's in the squad. Like I say, willing to bat for long periods of time, loves batting, pretty simple technique, doesn't do anything too fancy, got a great eye, so picks up the ball early, and his shot selection's very good. Again, he hits a lot of balls, majority of balls along the ground, so you take out getting caught, a major form of dismissal if you can keep the ball along the ground. Again, I think how India bowled to him at the start of the innings is very important. They need to be extremely disciplined. They need to be well researched. They need to look at Marnus's technique, find areas they can have impact, and then have the skill to do that early on in his innings.
Michael, last couple. Honestly, do you give India a chance without Virat Kohli, or is it really Herculean and almost impossible?
I give them a chance because they're a very, very good team. If India win the one-day series and the 2020 series, they can win the test series. If they don't win both these short form and then Virat Kohli goes home, I don't think they can. I really think this one-day and 2020 series is extremely important for India.
Okay, and finally, I've got to ask you this. Do you think with Virat Kohli, they can win the white ball series? Because they are also coming off after a layoff. Yes, they've played IPL. They are missing Rohit Sharma in the white ball series. Perhaps India's best batsman in white ball cricket along with Virat. How important is that going to be? And your thoughts on the white ball series as well?
Yeah, well, with Virat in your team, certainly in one-day cricket, you never say they can't win. Whatever Australia make, Virat can chase on his own. He's that good a chaser. But I think Rohit Sharma is a massive loss. If Rohit Sharma's in the team batting well, Virat Kohli's in the team captaining and batting well, this team can beat anyone in any conditions. This is an unbelievable white ball team. Big loss without Rohit, and like you say, India hasn't played too much cricket of late, but I wouldn't be writing any Indian cricket team off, certainly with Virat Kohli in it. So, look, I don't know who's going to win the one-day series or the 2020 series. I'm confident Australia win the Test series because Virat's going home. But the one-days and the T20s, I'm not so sure. I think it'll come down to if Australia can get Virat Kohli out early, I think Australia can win. If they can't, Virat can chase any total.
Okay. Mate, final one. Michael Clarke's best memory from India-Australia cricket on my show, Inspiration. In fact, this happens to be the last question on this series that I've been doing. So the finale is with you. Very, very interesting because one of my dear friends finishing the series off for me. Michael, your favorite moment from India-Australia cricket? Is it that baggy green kiss that you did on debut, Sachin Tendulkar, and your friendship? What is your favorite memory from India-Australia series?
Oh, I have so many. I've been so lucky. Look, I'll never, ever forget my very first Test match I ever played for my country was in Bangalore in 2004. I flew my mum, my dad, my grandmother, my grandfather over to Bangalore to watch that game. My family had never been out of Australia, so it was their first time to India. And what an experience. What an absolute dream come true. I was lucky enough to make 150 on debut. But more than that, just learning about the people, the culture, the way Indian fans love cricket changed my life. It's changed my life forever. I still love coming to India. I was so disappointed that the IPL wasn't in India this year because I would have been there. I've just been so lucky to have spent a lot of my career and a lot of my time in the subcontinent, in India. It's a wonderful part of the world with amazing people. And thankfully, my fondest memory as a cricketer is my very first Test match, and that was in India.
Terrific. It's always such a pleasure to have you on my show, Michael, and fitting that we are closing Inspiration with you for this particular season. In 21, hopefully, as Saurav Ganguly says, the IPL belongs to India, and with COVID improving, vaccines coming, the world will be a better place, and we will have Michael Clarke back in India, on Indian soil, having an Indian curry, sitting in the India Today studio, discussing cricket with me. So it will be a pleasure, and I look forward to that. But for the moment, Michael, to you and your young one, I know you've got to go and get her from school. You and your young one and the family, stay healthy, stay safe, stay well. That's all I will wish for this particular year.
Thanks,
have a good one, Michael, and see you soon.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you very much for having me.